Hello, everybody. The chamber is back again. We have Dr. Tamika, Dr. April, Dr. Kanisha, and I am Dr. Tamra. And today we're just going to dive right in. We are talking about self-esteem. So when I thought about this topic, and as we kind of discussed it last time, I was thinking about, okay, where does your self-esteem come from? And I was thinking about just my own like childhood experiences, because typically, those are the kind of things that first pop up. So I was just thinking about, where did I get my self-worth from? How did I navigate that? And I would say, as I grew up, basically, my childhood, it just kind of really looked good on paper as far as two-parent household, upwardly mobile, living in a nice neighborhood and all that. But I will have to say that my self-esteem was greatly affected by the school I went to. I was the lone little Black girl in this white school. And from a very early age, I can remember when I was in preschool at 3, walking into this place and thinking, looking around like, what is going on here? And at 3, you don't really have the words, but I knew something was a little different about me. So as I grew up, kind of all of those things came up. It's like, do I fit in? Where do I fit in? I became like okay, I was a little too white for the Black world. I was too Black for the white world. So it's like, I really kind of felt like I had no place really. And that really affected how I felt about myself. So, thinking about that, like where childhood experiences, Dr. Tamika, where can you think about a place where,
You
your
know,
self-esteem came from?
I go back to my family and let me just say, for me, it went back and forth. At school, self esteem wasn't as high. At home, it was because at home, that's where I got my support, my family. Oh, you're a chocolate drop. You're pretty. My dad would say this. But when I got to school, I'm like, I look different. I'm really little. I'm tiny. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that look. It just made me feel uncomfortable because people would always say, oh, you're so skinny. And so I took that as, oh, that's not a good thing. So my dad would go to Ecker Drugs. I don't know if you guys remember Ecker Drugs. It's an
Hmm.
old,
Oh yeah.
he would buy us weight on. My sisters, they were small too. And he would make us put it in the shake because we were always complaining about, Daddy, we're so skinny. We're so skinny. And he said, okay, I'll go and get you something because he was such a nurturer. And I would drink that because I felt I was super skinny. And so again, it went back and forth. At school, not so high of a self-esteem. At home, it was really high self-esteem, even though at times my sisters would say little things and make little snide remarks about just, being darker than everybody else. And now I absolutely love it. But at that time, growing up as a kid, we're really sensitive. And that's a lot of things. Those are things that I see in the school system, working in the school system every day, where you have a lot of kids that looked like myself. You could tell they're a lot more timid and they have some of those same issues. Yeah. What about you guys?
Well, for me, I can relate to the shake because I was really skinny, but that stuff taken in try to take Ensure, none of that stuff agreed with me. I would throw that stuff up. So I was like, okay, that was the only thing that I pretty much had an issue with was me being so skinny. But growing up, I did pageants. I was the pageant girl. So doing that all through school and well into college, starting doing fashion shows and local fashion shows and things like that. So I think that more or less shaped my self-esteem. I didn't really feel bad about myself, maybe because I was a pageant girl and doing those competitions. But one thing that stood out for me, and I remember to this day, my uncle. My uncle and my grandfather was sitting on the porch one day, and both of them are deceased now. But my uncle Justice and my grandfather James was really close, and so I came out to the porch, and he told me, my uncle Justice, he said, "Look," he said, "I'm going to tell you something, and so I want you to listen." And I was like, "Okay." So he said, "Well, I'm telling you right now that you're pretty." He said, so when these little boys try to get into your face and want to tell you that you're pretty, you already know. You tell them your uncle then already told you that you're pretty. So that way they won't try to, take advantage of you, get in your pants because you already know you're pretty. So growing up, going to college, that stuck with me. It was like my uncle already said I was pretty. So anytime a guy told me that I was pretty, I didn't let that blow my head up. It was like, okay, thank you. But it wasn't enough for me to be manipulated. Put it like that.
So I'm probably the opposite of both Dr. Tamika and Dr. April. I was on the heavier side for the better part of my adolescence, childhood, and even adult life. But not necessarily to say that it affected my self-esteem, because I always had positive reinforcement from other women in my family who were also bigger women. And growing up, I would say I always knew that I was smart. I always knew that I was intelligent. That was one of the compliments my family, especially my parents, would always give to me and even beyond reaffirming what I already knew, like I always had straight A's, I always had grades, student of the year. But I was not told a lot that I was pretty. So that was probably something I didn't realize affected my upbringing until the latter part of my teenage years, because I finished high school early, I finished college early. I was only an undergrad for 3 years. But when I got ready to go off to grad school and leave home, even this was a conversation I had to have with my dad, because that was just not something that I was told a lot growing up, is that I was pretty. I was always told I was smart, I was well-mannered, I was talented, I could play several instruments, I could sing. I was the minister of music at my church at a young age. At 12 years old, I have sang beside the best of them, from Kirk Franklin to Andre Crouch. However, not being reaffirmed as attractive or pretty probably also played a part into some of my social withdrawal.
Wow.
And what was the social withdrawal?
I think people look at me now and they see Dr. Kanisha now. They see the persona now, the social media, person that I am now, not knowing that I was extremely shy growing up. I wasn't the popular kid growing up. I wasn't the who's who on campus. Like, that just wasn't me.
And I think for little girls, there needs to be some type of interventions for them, because we don't realize how much childhood can shape you as an adult. Like, we go into adulthood with a lot of issues, a lot of baggage, because of what was dealt with as a child. And so for a long time, yeah, like I said, I still would go back and forth, even, dating, and, oh, I don't look like that, and I don't have this type of hair. So those are some things that, and that's why I really liked it when we talked about, self-esteem was a topic for us coming up, because it is major working in the school system with young girls not liking each other because, she thinks she's better than us. She thinks she's cute. And so that's something that we need to work on, working with young people. For myself, I know, and I try to tell them all, you're a beautiful young lady. There's no reason for you to be fighting. They have whenever they do have conflict in a school, they really can't tell you why. I just don't like her. I don't like, especially if it's a really cute young lady, a lot of them really attack the person, because some of them are jealous. There are some jealousy issues. So, and I think that's something that we can talk about later, what jealousy is and how it stems from a lot of young girls at an early age.
But I think it starts, really being at home with your parents, saying that, hey, you are beautiful, you are worthy, you are, when you have both parents, like your mom and your dad, because I know girls need more probably validation from their dad, but if dad is not there, hey, mom works too, to be able to instill that in you, to tell you those things so you can feel good about yourself.
And I think that's so interesting about, you know, we're talking about not only kind of being validated for being smart and doing well in your achievements, and then there's also a piece about how you look. Because you know, when I had kids very early on, just kind of reading, you know, how to raise kids and things like that, there are people who think you should not tell necessarily little girls how pretty they are. You shouldn't really validate that in them because you want their self-worth to be based on other things, just kind of being who they are, not how they look. So it is really interesting that, you know, I guess just being in the society that we are very visual, we're getting messages from, you know, everywhere, from the media about our just, you know, physical image and how we look. So, you know, I just find that interesting. It's like, what is the right way to go about doing that?
I think there definitely has to be a balance because, like I mentioned before, like I had this, and luckily I had the opportunity to have this conversation with my dad before he passed away. I really didn't need a whole bunch of affirmation as to that I was intelligent. My grades told me I was intelligent. Graduating top of my class and graduating early and finishing a bachelor's before I was even able to drink, that told me I was smart. That was obvious. It's very person specific, especially when you're talking about raising kids. Like everything that I'm saying, like as far as like socially that I might not have been, my brother who was just as smart, but he was a social butterfly. Like for the better part of my adult life, I've been Andre's little sister because he had that confidence and he was socially inept and he knew that he was a good looking dude. So I think there is a balance. Like I was very intelligent and smart enough to know that my scholastic achievements reaffirmed that I was smart. But what I also needed to know that there was something beautiful inside of me, as well as something that was beautiful about me.
I think sometimes our parents don't want to say that because they don't want you to get the so-called big head. Like, well, I don't want to tell you that because I don't want you to get a big head. But there's a balance. You can still tell your son and your daughter that they're handsome and they're beautiful and explain to them, you know, why I'm saying you're handsome, why I'm saying you're beautiful. Beauty is more than, you know, the skin on the outside. So breaking that down and explaining that, okay, it's not just about you being pretty or about you being handsome. This is why I say those things. So it shapes the child in a way to where they understand, okay, I get it now. So then you won't walk around like, oh, okay, well, I'm all that in a bag of chips or whatever. It's just more or less that balance there, that I understand that I do look nice. So I don't feel bad about myself, or I don't have to envy this other person because I think they look better than me or they are better than me in whatever aspect.
And I like that what Tamara said. I want to piggyback both of you. That I like it what you said, but telling them, I'm thinking the appearance, it's deeper. It is deeper than that. You look at children and you see certain qualities in them, and although you may say they're beautiful, you may not necessarily mean the aesthetics or the outer appearance. It may be something beautiful about them. I remember being a child that was really kind. I would help my dad with the yard. I would try to help my mom with cooking. I would try to do those things. And even to the day that my dad passed, I mean, I ended up being, it's a lot of us. I have a lot of siblings. But I became the beneficiary for one of the policies because I did spend a lot of additional time with him. So I felt like, not that I was the favorite daughter, but I felt like I was the one that poured into him a lot just like he poured into me. I would spend a lot of quality time with him. I would call him a lot. I would say certain things. So I think when he would tell me that, because he would always say that, you're beautiful, I think he meant more than just the appearance. Yeah. So it gets a little bit deeper than that as well.
And kind of thinking about going back to just kind of the body image and things like that, how do you guys navigate kind of in this world of, you know, maybe the Kim Kardashians and the big booty is nice and the tight waist and, you know, being, you know, I don't want to date myself, but being a woman of a, you know, certain age, but, you know, really just kind of keeping it together, but also seeing all of these people out there who may be enhanced in a way. And, you know, how do you all think about that? You know, even if when it comes to like hair, like natural hair, how natural hair is just wonderfully, and I just love that, the fact that natural hair is really the thing now. But, you know, back in the day, it was not at all. And I can remember when I first had my big chop and wig natural, I had a braid appointment ASAP because I did not like the way it looked.
It can be intimidating.
I work with a plastic surgeon. I put people to sleep for their plastic surgery, and I understand what is and is not real. So I try to tell the younger ladies that are in my life, and actually you bring up, you know, great branded women. These are brands. These are not real people. So how trying to attain the unattainable because it's not real. I was just actually watching the Dion Cole comedy special, and he talked about this. He was like, women say they want to look like Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj don't look like Nicki Minaj. So why are you trying to look like people that don't even look like themselves? Have you seen side by sides of before and after surgery Kardashian? That's not attainable. Like, you want to look like there is no carbon copy of you. Embrace who you are. And that's why I feel like it's so important to point out the beauty in our young sisters, the beauty in our young people, so that they appreciate the beauty in themselves. It's not superficial and it's not vain. Your beautiful lips, your beautiful natural hair, your beautiful natural curves, your beautiful little sticks and stones if you are skinny, like the beauty that is you. Before media steps into their life and starts to cloud their judgment about what is really beautiful and what is just airbrushed cosmetics.
Yeah. I think it's loving the skin that you're in, because social media plays a part, especially with young girls. They see this on the screen, or you see it on Instagram, or you see the Instagram models because they have millions of likes and followers, that you want to have that. So you feel like, okay, sex sells. So if I put on my string bikini and take pictures on Instagram, I'm gonna get a whole bunch of likes and a whole bunch of followers. So that's the age that we're in right now. It's like, what do I see? You know, people don't even have own houses, but trying to get a Birkin bag. You know, Birkin bags range from what, $10,000 to $200,000, because you see it on Instagram. It's like, oh, it's cool because, you know, such and such has one. Nicki, but no, Cardi B has 4 of them. You know, all these things. So you have to start putting all that in perspective and really thinking about your life individually.
Your positive affirmations as well, April, because I have found as I'm getting older, some of that can be intimidating, because I'm like, oh God, you know, you start, the gravity kicks in and you're like, oh, I need to do this and I need to do that. And then I have to go back to self and just say, people have to accept you for who you are. If they don't, they're not meant to be there. Because getting older, sometimes, again, you start to get a little intimidated when you see some of the younger women, and it's natural. And honestly, some of us look a lot better than the younger women because we are taking care of ourselves, and we're putting more into ourselves. We're pouring more into ourselves. But I have had moments where I have felt somewhat intimidated, and I'm saying, oh, I don't want to just let myself go. And then I work too hard. And so I have to pull back. This week, my trainer, she really took us in. We really worked hard and I was exhausted. That's why last night I was done. But I have to stay balanced as well to understand that, okay, I can only do, you know, as we get older, a friend of mine, he said, hey, you're not as young as you used to be. You're pulling a lot of weight. You're doing a lot of extra with your workouts, because I like the way they make me feel. One, I get the best rest ever after I work out, and it's therapy. Yeah. Everything to me goes back to therapy, but I've got to learn how to balance it as I get older, because some days I really overdo it. But again, I have to also go back to talking to myself and saying positive things about myself to myself. Okay, it's okay. You're beautiful like you are, good, bad, or indifference. Indifferent if they accept you, if they don't accept you, and so on and so forth. So those are some things that I talk to myself about daily.
Good.
I love that, Tamika. You know, definitely talking about what does your self-care and self-love looks like, and being able to give that to yourself, the balance, the working out and things like that. That is loving yourself. So what kind of other things are you guys doing to show yourself some self-love?
How about you, Tamara? What are you doing to show yourself some self-love?
Well, I just like to, not so much now in this pandemic, because I'm at home, but you know, I do like to just get out. I love a good meal. I love to eat. That is part of, you know, I like to cook things. I like to, and just really, you know, feed myself good things. I also, like Dr. Tamika, I do like to work out. I enjoy running, and that is just a part of what keeps me balanced and healthy. So that really is a part of, you know, what I do for myself, and really just staying connected with people who pour into me, and having that, maintaining that, which is, you know, it is a bit more difficult in being socially distanced and all those things, but really having those people who I enjoy, who I can have great conversations with. I think that is very helpful for me to show myself some love, of knowing other people out there loving me, and we can share that.
Okay. What do you do, Dr. Kanisha?
I like to create beautiful things, whether it's composing music or writing or art. That's how that's how I kind of let go and digress, but it brings me joy to know that there's something inside of me that can come out and produce something beautiful, even if it's only beautiful to me, if no one ever hears it. And sometimes I do share my art, I share my music, I share my writings with other people, and it brings me great joy to get great feedback about creating something beautiful.
I love that. So it looks like we all have something. Go ahead, Dr. Tamara.
I was going to say, Dr. April.
Well, my self-care is more or less, you know, my herbal supplements. We can get into that in another show, but you know, I do that. I love, you know, different types of herbs. I started juicing, so I juice for, you know, me and my kids in the morning. I like spending time in nature. I like relaxing. I like going out, sitting in the sun, you know, walking barefoot through the grass, just kind of grounding myself. So I like doing those things, having those quiet moments. You know, I practice meditation. I listen to affirmations like when I'm working out, doing exercise, you know, at night before I go to bed. I listen to my meditations. So all those things help me stay balanced and help me stay calm. And it just, you know, and I'm grateful. I also write, you know, I journal. So I have a gratitude app that I write things that I'm happy and grateful for each day. So those things help as well. So it keeps me in this bubble of trying to continue to stay positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love all of these self-care things that we all do, and really, to kind of pour into ourselves and build our self-esteem and to keep us balanced. So as we wrap up, what kind of last words do we want to leave the audience with? Just final thoughts around, what self-esteem looks like, what it is that they can do to build self-esteem, how to put things in perspective.
I think it's taking care of yourself and putting value into you, valuing who you are, knowing who you are. And I'll throw in quickly too. I don't just work out, but I do, not in the midst of the pandemic, but typically I'm doing facials. I get massages. I go to Yaya, which is a place where they do foot massages. Anything you can think of that's therapeutic, and I can hear soft music. I have a lady that comes. She owns a company called Elastics. She stretches me out after my workouts. Those physical things make me feel good. They make me feel like I look good. I like to look nice. I like to dress up from time to time and do, like you said, Dr. Tamara, go out to eat, go to a nice restaurant, dress up, take pictures. Those are things that I like to do that make me feel good. And I feel like they are a boost to my self-esteem, which I think is something that's ongoing that we have to continue to work on.
Yeah.
I think it's important to get more than skin deep. And that's what I will leave with our audience. The Creator has put something inside of all of us that is truly beautiful. Some of these things are meant just for you, and some of these things are meant to be shared with the world. But you have to get more than skin deep. Your self-esteem is more than hair and makeup and the clothes that you wear. Your self-esteem is about you, the entire you, knowing who you are inside and out and beyond that skin level. I implore everyone to explore what is beneath the surface of you that makes you beautiful.
I like it.
Me too. Me too.
Well, I would like to end on my positive note, affirmations. So for today, the affirmation will be, I am beautiful, I am lovable, and I am wonderfully made.
I love that, Dr. April, and all of you guys. It's been fantastic. So, my final note is just, for our self-esteem can be really tied to maybe things that we do and our achievements. But I think it's really important for us all to remember that we are worthy to be, and we deserve all that we have and all that we hope for, just because we have breath in our body and we are human beings. And that is not tied to anything but just being ourselves. So that is what we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us with the Chamber Podcast today. And we will see you next time with another great show.
Bye.